One thing that really stood out to us is the front of the building obviously went down. Look here. Here's the steeple, now laying in the middle of the street. This is what this congregation is having to deal with. This is why they've come together. So as you've heard, Lauren, we have spent some time in this community. We talked to some people. We've got a story put together for you now, because the people here are not only astonished at all of this damage, but astonished that they lived through it. Cautioning against water on the floor becomes redundant when there is no roof. It's the kind of helplessness that Reverend Terry Terrell is facing, as the building that houses her nonprofit is now uninhabitable. Around them in Germantown, the people used to serving this community now find themselves in need of help.
Well, I want to be there for my constituents and for the people, and here I am, a victim of the devastation as well.
For the members of the Hopewell Baptist Church, they have gathered here right after 5 o'clock because this is their church home. This is where they worship every Sunday and throughout the week. A church that has literally stood here for probably 100 years. We were looking at the nameplate, and we know that the ministers here first were active in the late 1800s. This is now members of that congregation. If you're now joining us, just moments ago, they sang Amazing Grace, and they are now holding together. I spoke to the Reverend briefly, and he said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come together. We're going to get through this. But again, the neighborhood, this is what they're dealing with. Cars and cars of people that have come by either to get out of their neighborhoods or to look and see what this damage is like.
In the last day, 19 of those in Putnam County alone. We do know that children were killed there. 3 people died in Wilson County, 2 in Davidson, and 1 in Benton. The National Weather Service has been busy already all day long surveying the damage. We will get those reports from an EF2 tornado which struck right here in Germantown where I am standing. We are at 2nd Avenue North and Stockyard, and if you look behind me, this is what damage from 125-mile-per-hour winds looks like. This is the Department of Children's Services, and you can see power pole after power pole snapped. What you don't particularly see in the distance so well is a building caved in. Right beyond the Department of Children's Services is the Department of Human Services. This is where people sign up for things like food stamps. The building is gone. It is caved in. Beyond that is the Jefferson Street Bridge. You can see a power pole laying on it. It has been closed all day long. We have roads shut down here in the area. You can see the caution tape all up across this area. What is really remarkable, we've shown you this all day, we can have buildings collapsed, and then right across the street, we have new buildings. We have these office buildings that are untouched, not even fazed by what rolled through here last night. You can see Metro Police out here. They've been out here throughout the night. Chief Anderson, we heard just say a little while ago, no more days off. The Central, the East, Hermitage precincts, they're going to combine overnight shifts and the night shifts, and everyone is going to work 12-hour shifts for the foreseeable future. As you take a look from our helicopter, I have to tell you, this is not our typical Sky 5. Our Sky 5 is housed at the Josie Toot Airport. The airport is just, it looks like sticks on the ground. Sky 5 was severely damaged. Luckily, we have the resources to get another helicopter in here to show you the scope and the breadth of this damage, because it will take your breath away as it has ours throughout the day.
Killed as a result of these tornadoes sweeping across these counties, across Middle Tennessee. We heard from the governor today about what he has been doing in these last several hours, really on the ground, taking a tour of exactly what this damage that you all have been seeing on News Channel 5 throughout the afternoon. He says he has talked to several victims' families, people who he said actually had to go and identify the bodies of their loved ones today. He coupled that with also talking to and seeing firsthand some of the goodness that has come out of this disaster, this tragedy. People who have started pitching in, even though they had no connection really to these victims, pitching in to try and help. We did also hear from Chief Anderson about looting concerns throughout Davidson County. As you may know, the Mount Juliet police have instituted a curfew tonight that starts at 6 o'clock in some of the worst, most heavily damaged areas. That is not the case in Metro Nashville, but the chief told us today in this press conference that he is expanding the work hours of all Metro police working in the overnight hours.
Some, I guess, have less damage than others, but pretty much overall at this time, until we get the final report from the National Weather Service on the exact length and width, in which they should have completed that today, but we haven't heard back yet.
Do you have any idea how many total people have been affected?
No, I do not have a number on that.
But hundreds?
Yes. Yes, at least hundreds. Yes.
Or more.
Sum up the tough day.
Yes, it is. Please pray for everybody, if you don't mind. Responders and citizens.
You mentioned that a 38-year-old woman had been taking shelter when she was found in a wall collapse.
Updating the situation in Wilson County, we do know that 3 people died in Wilson County. At least 23 other people have been transported for injuries. The situation is going to continue. You heard them talking about securing for the night because it's going to get dangerous with all those power outages out tonight. They're going to make sure that people are aware the traffic lights won't be working and those kinds of things. Also, we're going to stay with you throughout the day and throughout this evening as we continue our coverage. Remember, we'll have special coverage throughout the evening here on News.
To remember, today is Super Tuesday. Tennessee, of course, one of 14 states voting today in the presidential primary. Josh Breslow is at the WKRN.com alert desk with some new information. Josh?
Right, so polls opened a little bit later this morning due to that storm damage.
Came up, and it's interesting to watch how the mood has changed here in East Nashville. First, a lot of people with cell phones, sort of shocked, sort of surprised, sort of stunned, wanting to capture it. A lot of folks just shaking their heads. After that, as the day moved on, anger, just mad, why did this happen? And then quickly it moved to, okay, it's here, what do we do now? What's next? Who can we help? At 9:30 this morning, shortly after the sun came up, the curious came out. Pictures on television weren't enough. East Nashvillians had to see it all for themselves. Once they saw it, they went to work. Just a pitching wedge from Shelby Golf Course. Neighbors grabbed ladders and bottled water and looked for need.
I just texted people and I said, hey, who needs help? Because I've got a free day off. And they said, okay, go to this home.
Everybody needs help one time. Today for them, probably tomorrow for me.
That's what I do, the calling card of the free helpers.
I wasn't here for the flood. I wasn't here for the last tornado. But I know that Nashville rebounds, so we're all in it together.
Chris Griggs promised his vacationing neighbor he'd watch his house, never thinking it could mean this.
In case we get any more weather, we're going to keep water out of his house. Just keep him dry best we can.
Good to think about our city. It's North Nashville, South Nashville, West Nashville, but East Nashville stands out. There's a certain pride in East Nashville, and here they weren't afraid to share it. Back to you.
Terry Bolger reporting live in East Nashville tonight. Thank you so much. Our Tom Randalls is also bringing special coverage tonight. He has been in Germantown. Tom, I know you were surrounded by devastation as well.
Yeah, that's right. Now, Lauren, I can tell you this. We went out quite a while ago and met up with a couple of guys who came into Germantown to help. They wanted to remove trees. They wanted to pick up debris. They wanted to make sure that their neighbors were taken care of. We fed that video back. I'm not sure where it is, but hopefully we're going to get that and we're going to be able to play it for you sometime soon. In the meantime, let me show you what's going on here. Right now, obviously, things are getting dark here finally, and a little earlier, this fence went up at the back of O'Reilly Auto Parts, and we noticed that the guys who did this did it pretty quickly, securing the area, and you're going to see more and more of that kind of thing happening. And as we spin around here to the background, that is Rosa L. Parks in back of me right here, and we're actually only about maybe 100 yards away from the intersection, and we noticed several large NES trucks coming through in back of us, and they had the large power poles that were on their trucks to replace the ones that had been damaged, uprooted, torn down, bent over. So they're going to be working really hard, maybe about another eighth of a mile away from us down the road on Rosa L. Parks. We'll try to get some video of that if we can. We're kind of tethered here. We can't move very far. Jeremy Finley, obviously, is also here in Germantown. They're able to move around a lot and kind of do what they need to do, but we're tethered to the truck. But I can just tell you what I've seen, and we know that that activity is going on, and hopefully they're going to be getting those power poles in, because folks here don't have power. We've seen brake lights down the street. Maybe we can spin around back here, and you can see some of the red over my shoulder here. And these are folks just, some of them live here, some of them are just coming by to take a look at all the damage, and there's extensive damage, you know, only a few blocks away from our location. Again, we're tethered, we can't move because we're with a live truck, and we've got cable, but in some of the areas, some of our crews are able to move around. But I can just tell you that it's still active here tonight. It's going to be interesting, though, as the sun goes down, to see exactly what is happening in this neighborhood. The police presence is here. Whether or not they actually have more police patrolling, just because it's so dark and these areas are so dangerous. Look at all the debris right here and back of me right here. And they're wanting people to stay away. Folks are obviously curious about what's going on, and obviously a lot of people are devastated. Their homes are lost or destroyed or heavily damaged, and we're going to be here throughout the night just kind of keeping an eye on things and seeing where things progress. But again, I can tell you that NES is on the job just right down the road from us here.
All right, Tom, thank you. And the numbers from NES, the most recent, is still 43,000 people without power just right here in Nashville. 250 power poles and counting that are either damaged or destroyed, and they said that number will most assuredly go up as they find more power lines that are down right now throughout the city. You know, I think the thing that's really captured the nation's attention with this tornado outbreak here in Nashville is just how close to downtown this is. I mean, you can see the skyline, and you look over just a little bit, and there is devastation. So I want to bring in one of our crew members here, Brittany Edney. She is from WGCL, our sister station in Atlanta. She's downtown on Jefferson Street Bridge right now, or very close to it at least. Brittany.
Lauren, I think you nailed it right there. From where I'm standing near the Jefferson Street Bridge, if we do a 180-degree pivot, I'm going to show you the difference from this beautiful skyline of Nashville and then the Department of Human Resources over here, just in pure shambles this evening. With that much damage done to a building, think of how vulnerable human beings were over here underneath this Jefferson Street Bridge last night into the overnight early morning hours, with that twister tearing through those side streets heading this way. Many of them bunkered down in some of these silk thin fabric tents that are still amongst some of this debris and warped metal underneath the bridge. But that's what people were relying on to keep them safe. A very scary situation. One of those residents here joining us live, Michael, you know, you told me as soon as you saw that twister coming your way that you got on the phone with 911. What were you saying to that representative you spoke with?
It was actually before I could get any words out other than tornado. I look over to the west and I just see a massive black cloud coming right for me. I was given very little time to prepare. I grabbed up my dog, held her in a shopping cart, and went on a ride that could have very well been my last.
And I mean, you had a stranger on the phone with you, with what could have been your final moments. What did you guys talk about? What kind of support did you have from another human being, someone you didn't even know, in those uncertain moments?
It was definitely a scary moment. Having the 911 dispatcher there eased the loneliness a little bit, excuse me, but it didn't eliminate the fact that it could be my last time ever speaking to someone. I was on the phone with someone I don't know, they don't know me, but the fact that the 911 dispatcher, while I was waiting to be rescued, sat and actually prayed with me, definitely lifted a big burden off my shoulders. And then to see the lights of the first responders coming really opened up a world. I knew I was going to be okay. I was really worried about the people I camp with and whether or not they were going to be okay. It was very unsettling not knowing who was hurt, who was trapped, what friend of mine I could have lost.
And, you know, I can just feel the emotion just pouring out of you, and this has been such a difficult and scary day, but look at just a few feet away from you, everyone at home, Michael literally bunkered down in right next to his tent, and then the next thing you knew, while you were on that phone, you were being twirled around and ended up getting buried underneath a pile just like this of metal, of stuff that looks like it came from atop of the Department of Human Resources building just a few feet away. What was it like waiting for those responders to get to you? How did it feel being trapped underneath a pile just very similar to this?
Well, it was definitely a very scary moment. The 30 minutes felt like hours. I was starting to say prayers that I was going to be okay. Unsettling as it was, I can't change the past, but I can only work toward the future. The bridge looks a lot better than it did just several hours ago when I first did my interview. We've been working nonstop. We've got more resources coming in tomorrow. We've got contractors that are going to bring out bobcats and chainsaws, and we're going to try to get this blooming little tent city we had going back up to, you know, the little beautiful place it was, you know, what few of us call home. It's very difficult to look at it now and realize you don't have anything else.
Earlier this afternoon, Michael told me it struck a very personal chord. He said that he felt kind of forgotten underneath this bridge, and in the past few hours we've seen a lot of volunteers. You can see the pile of resources coming out from water and simple necessities, but also some warm treats, that coffee and Dunkin' Donuts pastries just coming through in the past 10 or 15 minutes ago. But volunteers also trying to make their way out to this camp that heard about what was going on, even asking our crew, hey, we want to get there. We saw that you were there. How can we get access to where people like Michael are so we can come and show that support? Hearing all of that and seeing the love that's been coming out this afternoon, how does that make you feel? Do you still feel like you were forgotten under this bridge, or has this kind of changed your viewpoint on humanity a little bit?
From the neighborhood where we're at, it's very economically secure. There's a very big outcry right now. A lot of support from the people who normally treat us at the worst are actually coming around and, you know, giving out what little they have left to help someone like us, which is nice. So, you know, it doesn't change my perspective on humanity a whole lot, but it definitely is a start to, you know, people doing the right thing, and a community is only stronger if we band together.
Can you describe a little bit? I mean, this is a situation that many people luckily will never be in, but the force of that wind, what happened? What do you remember feeling when that was coming through?
I remember being pelted with rocks. It got very, very chilly. At that point, it was time for me to, you know, make a quick split decision on what I was going to do, and I decided to shelter myself next to a shopping cart.
And we are just so glad that you are safe and have been just sharing your heart with us this evening, Michael. We really appreciate it. I can also tell you, along with those volunteers bringing out those supplies, there are other nonprofit organizations working hard to get access. Logistically, it's kind of difficult to get a truck out here for some hot meals, some warm meals, but people are trying. The effort is there, and right now, as a lot of these side streets are taped off and we have police officers keeping a lot of those larger vehicles out, people are working to make their way here to Michael to help.
You know, able to come and help us out.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Reporting live in Nashville, Brittany Edney, News 4.
Brittany, thank you so much. She's part of our team, actually, who traveled in from Atlanta to help with the coverage today, to help tell